you mentioned last week that new contract and no one wants to fight Gregor Gillespie. He is a super tough guy to fight. What's it about that fight, that matchup, that made you want to take it?
Well, I didn't go looking for Gregor, to be completely honest. They gave us a new contract, and I think part of the deal was that I had to fight Gregor, which I was more than happy to do because he's 15th, so I got to jump pretty far up the ladder, and they call him the gatekeeper, to the top 15. So it's very appealing for me to fight him and beat him because I feel that he's there's two really dangerous wrestlers in that top 15, and he's one of them, him and Islam Makhachev. So I feel that I can compete with Gregor, beat Gregor, and deal with his wrestling from there on up. It's a lot of striking wars other than Islam, so I'm looking forward to that. But Gregor's he's good. He's only lost one, and it was pretty early on in the fight where he got knocked out. So it would have been interesting to see where that fight went, especially with Kevin Lee's wrestling pedigree. But you definitely can't rule him out, even though it was a bad knockout and he did have a bit of time off. I'm sure he's just as motivated as he's always been. He was on a tear and he was very close to getting to that top 10, and he'd be a problem for anyone from 15 upwards, I think. So it's a huge challenge for me, and I love challenges. I love hard fights, and the UFC is definitely giving me a fair share of those. So it's gonna be cool.
At the time of that fight, Gregor, I believe, was ranked number 10. Obviously, he's had that time off now. Do you feel like people have sort of forgotten just how dangerous a guy he can be based on his last fight?
Yeah, I think people don't really give him the credit maybe he deserves, because from like a common fan point of view, he's a boring fighter to watch if you're not too educated on the sport. If you're educated on the sport and you've come across some good wrestlers, he's really not that fun a fight to take, to have him behind you, and he's like a wet piece of paper. He's pretty hard to get off. But I think he's maybe been forgotten in the fans, but I'm sure everybody that has been offered to fight him hasn't forgot about him. Yeah.
Your last fight before you got in the UFC was basically just wrestling. Do you look back on that as a gauge for how to approach this fight?
So before my debut, you mean?
Yeah.
Probably a bit different, bit of a different level of wrestling, that one to this one. Gregor's like he's got a lot of accolades in wrestling. He's a huge collegiate wrestler, and I think it's a bit of a jump in levels to wrestling. Gregor's more like our coach and training partner Frank Hickman. That sort of level, which is it's hard to deal with. But fortunately, the fight always starts striking, and striking does change the dynamic a little bit. It's not just a wrestling match. So I'm going to be fine in there.
And you've shown pretty good grappling in your time in the UFC, just in the short span that you've been in there. Did you feel that you leveled up in San Diego as well with the 5 weeks you spent grappling with those guys? Yeah,
of course. It would be pretty hard not to level up there. There's a huge amount of high-level grapplers there, wrestler grapplers, jiu-jitsu guys. There's a mix of everything. Heaps of black belts. Even the white belts you can't chill with. You got to be pretty careful with them. They'll tap you out if you give them the chance. That was a huge gift. That 5 or 6 weeks over there grappling at Atos with Professor Galval. I learned a truckload there, and then I didn't actually have the Gregor fight then. So, that was. It must have been someone giving me a sign, getting me ready for this fight. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
What about you the focus on the fight? What about going back there?
Yeah, so I've got after this fight, I got a couple of weeks. I got 1 week. Then I have to help Alex and Shane with their fights, and then after that, I will be probably pop down to Atos for a little bit and say hi to the guys. That'd be cool. Depending on what state I'm in. Yeah.
How long after 260 do you have before you can come home?
I leave April 10th to come home. Yeah, so I'll be back at my house April 24th after the quarantine. So.
What's it like? What's it going to be like not being without like Eugene in there? Will you take on the coach's hair? I guess Joe will be there for Alex as well. So
yeah, I'll be cool. All the work's done here, and I have a very good corner coming with me. I have Mike Angro, Frank Hickman. Joe Lopez. They're all very, very experienced coaches, and they spend a lot of time here with me, watching what Eugene teaches me, and also helping me out. So all the work's done here, and then on the night, a lot of it's just up to me and their guidance. So yeah, they're just as good. Yeah.
You spoke a bit about it in terms of his wrestling background and the wrestlers in the top 15, but what does a win, do you think, represent for you? What does it mean going forward?
I think it makes me a huge threat all the way up to the #1 contender. You know what I mean? And the belt. Gregor's a very dangerous guy. He could very well be the champ if he gets behind you and wrestles you to the ground. And he's very, very tiring, very tiring guy to fight. So yeah, if I when I beat Gregor convincingly, regardless of if I'm 15, it's going to be a very, very worrying time for the people above me. Yeah.
I know Gregor agreed with you to move the fight a little bit because of the birth of your daughter. Can you just talk a little bit about what that meant for you?
Yeah, that was cool. From what I've seen, Gregor's a good guy. He's just a gamer. He gets in there and competes, and so do I. And the birth of my daughter was just pretty recent, and it was going to be very, very close to that last fight. Would have had a couple of weeks with her, and then disappeared. And me and my partner are very, very new to the baby thing and the newborn thing, so it would have been pretty hard for her to manage that by herself, and our family's all in different cities. So it was preferable for me to stay here and help her out for a couple of weeks and then move the fight. So Gregor agreed to move that fight, so I was pretty grateful about that, and cheers to that.